We're talking actors and directors who put on the shows.
We're talking playwrights and designers who you'll want to know.
From the very first rehearsal to the final curtain call.
We might be off Broadway, but we're talking about it all.
'Cause we're two local gals
With global pals, it's everything, everything, everything theater.
with Benita
And Ellen. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Everything Theater Podcast, the podcast where we talk about...
Everything Theater. Hi there, I'm Benita Zahn.
And I'm Ellen Cribbs.
You were dancing that one. I figured I'd join you.
I know, it just feels like a dancey day. I don't know. It's fall. It's nice. I love this time
I
of
made
year.
soup.
Yes, first soup of the
It's
year. What kind
fall.
of soup?
I made a cauliflower soup with carrots and potatoes, and now you're all just drooling. And it's actually, if you look on my Facebook page, I did a video. Somebody wanted the recipe. It's good. I know. Look, let me be honest. I stopped at DeVoe's Orchards for donuts. They have
Right.
very good, the cider donuts.
Cider
And it
donut.
was cute. There was a little girl and her dad were there, and little girl made some comment. I realized she said she was getting a hot one. I got the package one. So, this sort of takes us to, but they also had this gorgeous cauliflower. So, $5 had to buy it, which brings us, you see, I'm bringing up a child. You see, this is my transition. Our guests tonight are thinking, where's she going with this? But we've got a trio of wonderful folks joining us today. We have, I'm going to start with Anthony Richichi. He is author, co-creator, will be co-director of an original piece. So we're going to get to that in a sec. Hi there, Anthony. His
Hello.
co-creator director is Eric Potter, who usually, when he's not wearing that hat, is the facilities director at the Wood Theater. And Emily Murphy is the executive director at the Wood. And for those of you who don't know, the Wood is in Glens Falls, and it is a gem of a house to work in.
Thank you.
Welcome to all of you. Go ahead. And we've got a promotion, right? We got to hit
That's what I
that
was going to
first.
say. Yeah, if you're like, wow, I haven't heard of this place. Like, how have I missed a theater in the Capital District? Well, there's so many, and it's such a thriving scene here. So come join us for the cast party, which is going to benefit the Capital Region Festival of Theater that will be happening next June. But this cast party is on October 27th, coming up here soon, at the Cahoes Music Hall. And let's see, this is an area where we have 90 theater companies, a Broadway touring house, a Lort D theater, a professional theater managing a historic hall and free outdoor theater, 8 colleges, 5 of which have theater majors, 24 school districts, and dozens of youth groups. So all of that is going to be celebrated on this night on the 27th at Cahoes Music Hall. There's going to be entertainment. Last week, Benita, you asked if I was performing, and I said no. Well, now I am. Woohoo! So I will be there attending and up there on stage. It's going to be great. It's catered. It's going to be a great time. Come join us. You can get tickets at cahoesmusichall.org.
Last week I was not performing, and this week I'm not performing either. But you never know what happens between then and now. I'm going to be still. I'm out at the Majestic Theater, as the regular listeners know, and I'm there through the 20th. So that only gives me a week, and sometimes it's probably better to just sit back and enjoy what you're watching. And you've got to be an audience. My dad's older brother was a professional singer. His sister was a great pianist, and he said he was the listener. So with that said, Anthony, tell us, you've created something called Colorworld.
Yes. Yeah. So it's my first children's book as an author. It's published locally with Saratoga Springs Publishing. The story's very art driven. Very briefly, it's about this little boy who's an artist. He's got all these little magical characters and drawings that he creates, and he finds these magical art supplies that when he colors his art, and it brings all his characters to life. So there's this little superhero, Captain Tony, that comes to life, and he's able to kind of give Henry all that inner confidence that he kind of lacked through art and through the power of using your imagination and believing in yourself. And it was my first as an author illustrator. And then Eric had purchased a copy, had the idea to turn it into a play, and here we are.
That's wow.
Yeah, it happened very quickly, and I've never written a play before, but I'm familiar enough with the theater world, working with the Adirondack Theater Festival for the past 8 years as an illustrator, and I run a little gallery for their festival. So I was always in the wood and very familiar with Emily and Eric and Shelley. So yeah, it was a passion project that's kind of really taken legs.
That's where the children come in. When I talked about
Yeah.
a little girl and her imagination. But Emily, I want to jump in and ask you, you know, with all due respect, he's not tried and true. He hasn't been, you don't know what you're really getting. You know, he's a great artist, but you know, a dramaturg, a playwright.
Yeah, that's totally fair. So like Anthony said, he's familiar with us. We're familiar with him as an artist. Absolutely. And Eric came to us kind of after reading the book and was like, hey, this could be a play. And I know Eric knows, you know, what a play needs and what it takes to put it on. And just kind of for a little bit of backstory for those that are listening that might not know, most of what the Wood does is rentals, right? So people like the Adirondack Theater Festival or any of those other groups that you just mentioned, you know, talking about the craft fest, the event that they're having. There are, you know, probably like 25 groups that put on shows at the Wood. And for the most part, we don't really do our own stuff. But every now and then something like this comes along, or Benita, as you know, we did, you know, an original play that you were in many years ago. So every now and then something comes up that we're like, okay, this could really be something. And when Eric brought it to me, I was like, ooh, okay, okay, that definitely could be something. So the first step was, all right, let's see a script. Let's see if the book can become a play and what that actually looks like. And are we just taking the words from the book and saying them on a stage, you know, that kind of thing. And it's not been like that at all. The two of them have sat down so many times and really cranked out the story that already exists, kind of giving it some more depth and more character development. And I have no doubt that it's going to be incredible. But, you know, you're absolutely right. You know, I knew Anthony as an artist. I didn't know that he had this sort of storytelling ability outside of his works of art, which has been really special to see.
I should point out it's an award-winning book.
Exactly. It's a fabulous book. And that's kind of what Eric said. He said, I believe, did you go to Eric's son's school? Is that where this started?
Yeah, it was a little holiday market they had there where I was selling the books, and I do a lot of local stuff, sell my books and my art, and that's where I met him. Well, met him, you know, in his hometown. Yeah, and met his son, and
met him as a person, not as
outside of work. Yeah.
So give us a sense, Eric, you know, with all due respect, you know, you're older than age 10. And so, you know, that's kind of children's book stuff, just a little, maybe not in heart, but what prompted you to sit down and read it, one, and then what was that magic moment?
So when I met Anthony again, because we've met a whole bunch of times at the school, I knew he had written a book, so we were obviously going to purchase it. So we did, and then that night we went home. My son and I and my wife, we basically take turns, and we read every night to our son. It's just a thing we do. We've always done it, even before he even understood what a book was just kind of laying there. But so it's a normal thing for us to do, and so we read it together, my son and I. And I'm really getting into it. I'm like, all right, I like the story. I like where we're going. I'm enjoying the lessons that are happening. And then afterwards, I try to have a little, not a long conversation, because it is night time when we read, but I have the conversation with my son Sam, and I said, you know, what do you think? Did you like it? What did you like most? And all these questions. And he was very intrigued. He was very engrossed in the story, and he had a lot to say about it. So I knew it connected with him, which was a huge thing. And I know it connected with me as I was reading along. And I put the book down and closed it, and then he falls asleep, and I'm laying there next to him kind of thinking, all right, how's this going to work? That's good. I could do this and we could do that. And I know Anthony's a really good guy. I know he's pretty collaborative. So the wheels are spinning. I'm going, all right, this is gonna work. I bet this is gonna work. So then I think that was probably on a Friday or Saturday. So probably Tuesday, I think, Emily and Shelly and I sat down for a staff meeting like we always do. And I said, hey, look, it's a crazy idea. What do you think? And immediately both of them were like, yeah, yep. Yeah, I think this is something we should give it a shot. So we were originally talking, oh, maybe in the summer. And this was in January when all this happened. And then we were talking, well, maybe in the summer. And I'm like, maybe, but let's see what a script looks like Emily was saying before. There's a lot that has to happen in order to make something like this really come to life that we wanted. So we knew it was going to take a while, and we've been working on it, continuing. We had a small little reading session with actors, some kids, some adults, which was fantastic. We got a lot of feedback from kids and parents, and wow, the kids were really great at giving us feedback. It was awesome. So then we talked, and Anthony and I talked along with my wife Colleen, who's a huge theater person, and we all had some great ideas. Anthony took amazing feedback, went back, rewrote a couple scenes, added a whole nother scene, and came back again, and it just keeps getting better and better. So we're super, super excited about this.
How many acts? Is it a 90-minute one actor? Is it less? Is it two?
It's probably going to play around 40-45 minutes. So the right length for a children's show like this.
Yeah.
We don't want it to go, we don't want a 2-hour play here. This is a kid's play. We want them to stay engrossed and stay involved. And it moves quite quickly. There are many scenes, but they do move quickly. So the story flow is very nice. It has a really, really nice flow to it.
The show is going up a year from when you started.
Basically, yeah.
Right. It will be performed in January 2025. Do you have your exact dates yet?
We
Yes.
do. Yeah, it's the 25th and the 26th, I believe.
Mhm.
We're gonna do school shows hopefully on the 24th, which is something we really like to do. With obviously child-friendly programmings. We'll literally just Eric and I will hail the buses out front and get 200 kids in 5 minutes, and then they come in and sit and watch a show. So our hope is to do that on that Friday, and then on the 25th and the 26th have public performances.
You're auditioning. You're auditioning this month.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Real soon. The 18th, I think you start.
Yeah, it's not this coming week, but the
Right.
week after, like the 18th, 19th.
Right.
Yep.
And you're looking for kids.
Kids and adults. Yes. It's a
Yes.
mixed age group for this one.
Yeah, I
So
was
tell
gonna
us
say, a
about
lot of
that.
times with theater, like kids theater, you'll have adults who can, play kids. So yeah, tell us about the decision of like, let's have kids tell their story.
Sure. I think from the start, I always wanted to have a mixed age in this show. I wanted the adults to play the adults and the kids to play the kids. So that was kind of my goal from the beginning. And Anthony was totally fine with that. And I think Emily wasn't too scared about that idea. So I think it's going to be a fun way to get kids involved. And I've directed a bunch of kid shows, and most of the kid shows that I've directed have been adults doing the acting, but I really enjoy having kids watch other kids on stage performing. As theater goers, as theater people, we're always trying to get and build an audience. So if you have kids watching other kids, they're going, oh, that looks like a lot of fun. That's something I would love to do, right? So it helps build an audience and possibly even build some actors. So I'm very excited about that. I'm very, very excited. Anthony, do you have anything you want to say about having the kids involved?
Yeah, I thought it plays really well to the story in itself. It is based on this little boy, Henry, and you do meet his parents, you meet his little sister, you meet his teacher at school. Captain Tony, his little superhero that kind of comes to life, is like a embodied, like larger scale, version of him. It's kind of like his inner strength kind of come to life with a cape and this cool suit, So there were those elements of definitely having little kids, but it would be great to have those roles of the adults be the adults, and just kind of really keep it true to the book, which we were very luckily able to do, and especially the table read with the kids and having that mix. It was really cool to see that all kind of play out in that setting.
He's a boy.
What's that? Sorry.
He's a boy.
Yes, Henry. Yeah, I got the book. I can show you the cover. Right, happen to have one right here. But yeah, so this is Captain Tony. There's little Henry there. There's some of his art there. So we took it. So anyone who does have the book and has read it will really be able to follow along. I took just about all the dialogue from the book into the play, and then just elaborated it all and kind of played out the scenes a little more. But anyone, who's familiar with the book itself will get a kick out of it because it really stays true to that. And
is there audience involvement planned, or just you're waiting to hear the hoot and holler and cheers of the kids?
Yeah, we're not planning on having audience participation for this show. We have talked about possibly doing a little workshop before or afterwards. There's definitely going to be a sign and a meet and greet with Captain Tony and with, of course, Anthony afterwards. And if anyone wanted to purchase the books, he can sign and do all that stuff. So there's a lot of stuff wrapping around before and after the actual piece. But during the piece itself, we just want our audience to enjoy it and just be a part of it in that way without actually participating.
A lot of popcorn, Emily.
I know. I know. Another thing that we talked about too is making Anthony available to the schools that want to come to see the show, and maybe have him go into the classroom and actually read the book and talk a little bit about illustration and sort of the process. And one of the things that we thought about was maybe having a gallery of students, if that, were to work out, have maybe those classes work on sort of like a reaction piece, a drawing, some sort of artwork that we could then hang in the lobby before the show. So we're trying to come up with ways to really, as Eric said, keep the kids engaged in the show, not just the show, but keeping the story alive and kind of having it start conversations for them both before they get there, while they're there, and after they're there, of course.
Ellen's got a 5-year-old.
Yes,
Oh,
Perfect.
Does he have any markers? We could get him in the gallery.
I'd say, yeah, it's my daughter. She
my
likes
bad.
to draw. No, it's fine.
I'm just thinking of little Henry. I'm so excited.
Well, I was going to ask,
yeah,
obviously,
definitely going to have. Oops.
No, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
I was just
So we're going to have like little coloring pages as well. For the kids to kind of take in color as well. So they'll make little handouts and little pieces like from the story itself to make it a little more interactive. So yeah, very excited about that, and especially going from storybook to stage is an interaction in itself, and yeah, very excited for that.
That's what I was going to ask, with it being such a visual medium, right? So it's obviously an illustrated children's book, and it sounds like the plot is very heavy on the drawings and the drawings coming alive. So is there a visual element to the performance of how are you going to handle that, unless it's a spoiler?
Yeah. So I don't think it's too much of a spoiler. So I did because the whole premise of the story is this inner strength and inner confidence and imagination coming alive. There are going to be some animated bits. So I have worked on some animation little bits, and that'll be multimedia projected on stage. So there'll be this definitely immersive kind of experience of getting to see the art and then see it come to life. And that's kind of the whole message of art and all the forms of art, theater, music, writing, being like magic, and taking a blank canvas and turning it into something that's never existed before, taking an empty stage and filling it with this new story. And I feel like it is a form of magic, and we all are in the middle of it as creators. So yeah, definitely want that to come across in the play. And I think those animation bits and seeing just kind of things come to life, we're really excited to pull off here.
What kind of set do you have to construct for this?
So it's going to be a simplistic set in the fact that we're going to have pieces that can be transformed to once be a classroom and then turned around or arranged differently to be a kitchen and then a bedroom and things like that. So there's moving pieces. We're toying with some really fun ideas with color. It is Colorworld after all, so we're gonna try to do almost something like a Wizard of Oz, where it's black and white at times, and then a lot of color at times. So there's gonna be a lot of fun aspects that we can play with that. And as a lighting designer, I'm very excited for those things too.
It sounds fabulous. It really does. You should point you. Was it 5 adults you're auditioning, looking for?
That sounds right.
Yes,
Right.
that sounds
And
right.
And 6 kids.
Yeah, 3, 4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. The adults will outnumber the kids. You're right on.
Yes.
You know, and you want kids. You're looking that they need to be able to read between ages 6 and 9. Correct?
Yes.
Yeah, the little sister is the 6-year-old, and then the rest I think are about 9. But yeah, like you said, they just have to be able to play and read that. It could be a tiny 11-year-old, or it could be, anything, as long as it reads well. And the kids that we had, I mean, Eric touched on it earlier, but the kids that we had at the reading that we did in July, they were so great. And I hope most of them come to auditions, but like you said, their feedback was so it's like you said, it's their story. So getting their feedback and knowing that we're gonna, allow these children to tell their own story is really special.
Are you hearing much in the community already?
Yeah, we've heard, from the parents that were there at the reading were so jazzed. And I know they've all been kind of like talking, and the kids have been kind of, I'm sure, talking about it at school, because how cool is that, right? To go and say, hey, I just did a reading of a brand new play, like how cool is that? So yeah, and Anthony has definitely a lot of fans, I guess you could say. He has a following. And I just, that was one of the things that when we first sat down, you kind of have to be honest with yourself and say, is there an audience for this, for anything that you do? As much as we want to do it, as much as things can be a passion project, it's like, does anybody else care about this? And that was one of the very first things we said, is like, I have no doubt that people are going to come see this just because it has Anthony's name on it. And, we don't always just throw our name on things because it has to be something that we really believe in and is going to be good, and that we can attach ourselves to. And I think the combination is going to be really
there's
special.
something that we talk about on this podcast often, is building an audience with young people, because we all know, you go to the theater and it's a senior crowd for the most part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So this becomes twofold, doesn't it, Emily? In that one, you're partnering with these wonderful creative minds, but 2, you're buying your future.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's something that we talk about all the time, is how do we get younger people in the audience? We obviously love, our sort of like legacy audience that's always going to go to everything. They've been there forever. They're going to continue to for as long as they're able to. But you do look around at most theater things, and I'll go to something and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I'm the youngest person here by 30 years. And Eric mentioned it earlier, for kids to see other kids on stage really makes a difference, really makes an impact for them. And I joke about it all the time. I remember being in elementary school, and we'd go to the plays at the high school, and I was like, those are the coolest kids I've ever seen in my life. Like, I want to be just like them. And so having kids both in the audience and the stage, I think, is going to have a lasting impact, because we want to touch on all generations and get them involved in the arts. And it's such an interesting parallel with the story of how the arts touch his life, and everyone in his family sort of at the end. And I think that will be important for families to see and kind of consider the importance of art, and not just theater, but all mediums of art for their children. And I think that's very impactful.
Wow. Writing a book, writing a play.
Well, I'd say that the kids' book, it definitely a lot shorter, a lot less words than that. So in that case, it went a lot quicker. But there were a lot of things I had to gloss over. Really, in the hindsight of writing the play now, there were a lot of things I had to gloss over in the kids' book, just time and pacing and room on the page, to keep it a 40-page kids book, and to, not really long sentences. It's kind of like the grade 1 to 5 age group. So there were a lot of parts I had to just kind of skip over, I guess. Whereas this play, I was like, oh, I'm excited. I can kind of, I wanted to have Henry say something back to, there, or I wanted more of like a back and forth dialogue, or I can add a little more scene with his little sister, Olivia, who, quick shout out, is inspired by my niece, Olivia. So she's kind of inspired the character in that story there. More interaction with them. A really great scene towards the end that I could sneak in. So I was able to kind of get more out of the story, I think, with the play, which I was very, very excited to kind of see that come out.
Yeah, and for Anthony's first play, I mean, he and I, like Emily said earlier, I mean, we went back and forth with many meetings, and we talk about the script, and then we talk about what could we use and how could we change, and then he'd take it back and he'd work on it, and then work on it some more, bring back another revision, and we just kept working on it. And he's just like, he's fantastic. He's such a good guy to work with, and he's just very talented, and we're all very blessed to have Anthony around, for sure.
And definitely, I have to note, and I told him this after the reading in July too, was that it's so hard to take notes, as a playwright, as an actor, whatever it may be. It's so hard to take notes on something that's so vulnerable and special to you. And, especially your first play, you're sitting down in a room with a bunch of kids and their parents, and they're reading your words out loud and telling you exactly what they think about it. And all productive, very helpful stuff. But the kids are like, well, why don't you do this? Or why'd you do that? And he just was like, he took it and wrote, took notes from it, came back, wrote some edits, made some changes, and really ran with the feedback. And I think that's so difficult sometimes for people in theater to be able to do, and to be able to just do that on your first try, I think is really commendable.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I know. I loved it. I equate a lot of it to, I do for whatever reason hear that enough that I take criticism and feedback very well. But I think it has a lot to do. I don't know. I play in a band as well. I've been in a band since for over 20 years now, and there's a whole lot of with your bandmates, kind of like leave the ego out of it. Like, this is for the band. This is because we're all going to make a good product together. So I think just handling and giving and receiving criticism is a good. I think maybe will come from that, but at the end of the day, like, I just want this to be the best play possible. I know if there's anything that I can learn to make it better, or if maybe criticism that I didn't think maybe stuck, it would strengthen on why I decided to do that scene. You know what I mean? So it'll always either help make it better or just strengthen my decision and why I did that in the first place. But I loved some of all the feedback, and I mean, seeing this thing grow and build over the months now, it's better than I ever could have imagined, and that's a whole lot to do with Eric and Emily and Shelley and everyone. So I just couldn't feel in a better, safer space than to have like these type of critiques, because I do really trust and enjoy everyone so much. And
I was gonna say,
she's muted.
There we go. I'm getting over. I had COVID. One of my castmates, one of the castmates out in the Majestic, unfortunately, brought it in, and a few of us got sick. So that's what's happening. But I'm negative. I'm ready to go back on stage. But I don't want to let the time run by. You're auditioning. It'll be on the 18th. Is when you start.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be at the Wood Theater.
Mm-hmm.
Just get a hold of the Wood if you've got a hankering to be on stage, or a fidget in the house who got a hankering to be on stage. And Ellen, if you want to make a drive north, you never know.
You never
Olivia.
know.
Olivia.
Yeah, we need Olivia.
I'm gonna throw my daughter on stage this spring. We'll see how it goes. But and Anthony, tell us how we can get a copy of the book too, if someone wanted to read it before seeing the show.
Absolutely. So you can go to my publisher's website, Saratoga Springs Publishing.com. We have them right on there. They can come signed, personalized as well if you'd like. I got a coloring book version out as well. So they're all like the drawings from the book. that are in this little coloring book. So yeah, they're out now, and the sequel's out as well. And we're a few months away from the premiere, and just thrilled and really thankful for having us on here today.
School performance the 24th, the 25th, and 26th at the Wood Theater. Emily Murphy, Executive Director at the Wood Theater, thank you so very much. This is so exciting. Eric Potter, Facility Director and co-director, co-creator, and then, of course, Anthony Richichi, who took this book and then let it have a life of its own. And we've got a beautiful show, Colorworld. Thanks so much. Break legs, guys. Looking
Thanks so
forward
much.
to seeing you.
Thank you so much for having us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
And for our listeners, this has been a joy as always. And come party with us at the Craft Cast Party on the 27th. We'll see you there and have a fun time. Thanks, everyone. I'm Ellen Cribbs.
And I'm Benita Zahn. Be well. Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to the Everything Theater podcast. Special thanks goes out to Alice Grinling for our photography and Justin Friello for composing our amazing theme song. Please remember to subscribe to our podcast and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. If you want to share your thoughts or what's going on in your theater community, you can reach out to us on social media or through our email at everythingtheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Till next time, it's everything, everything, everything.